Lou Lopez Senechal, Ryan. This is it. And I'm very excited to be back with you on this Monday, July 18th, as we're nearing the end of July, Ryan. It's looking like today is a very special day. And why? Because, again, Lou Lopez, the spotlight is on her in this series. We're about, halfway through the list of the roster that the idea that she came up with. Again, we appreciate her for the idea. We're almost through this series. A lot more surprises headed our way, right? I mean, as far as, hey, even you and I could get surprised for the introduction video that Austin's coming out with this fall. So we want to tell them about that. But with that said, right now we will focus specifically on Lou Lopez, Ryan. Very excited to talk about her. This was one of our best episodes when she came to UConn, when Gino was going through the transfer portal and he signed her, or he brought her into UConn. I tell you what, that was one of our more popular videos. I was excited to see you actually put her on the list. I know we're going from, it seems like from not worst, but we're going from actually rookies to the best possible players on the roster. And I know you left her. I was surprised you kind of put her in this spot. But at the same time, I'm very excited because why? We get to talk about Lou Lopez.
Yeah, well, this is the most popular video, the one you were talking about when we welcome Lou Lopez to UConn. Has 9.4, so it's the most popular video on this channel. So, like we said before, we appreciate all of you tuning into that one. So we all know how much you love Lou Lopez, and we do too. We hope she is a great fit and a great add to this UConn Huskies roster for this season. I think she has the potential to be one of the players on this team that has a very, very great impact for this season. And I think she just fills a huge role in the kind of players that we lost last year in Avina Westbrook. She's going to be, I think, that type of player that can come at any time and start in that starting roster, in that starting lineup, or she can come off the bench. So I just think she can do so many things for this team, transfer out of Fairfield from the MAAC conference last year, player of the year, led her team to the conference bid last season as well. And because of COVID, she got the extra year for college and entered the transfer portal. Had no idea that Morgan Valley was actually the one that reached out to Lou and talked her into transferring to UConn. So Lou had no idea that UConn would ever contact her, but so glad that Morgan Valley and the rest of the coaches reached out to Lou. I think she's going to be a great add to this team this year. And we also did another video on her about how she was fitting in great during summer workouts. So it seems like she's fitting in a team great. So that's what we'd like to hear.
When you say that she's going to be filling a gap that we were missing with the players lost, how do you see that coming, Ryan? Because again, it seems like players, especially late in the season, it might not be me, or it may just be me, excuse me, but I'm getting the feel, especially with college basketball late in the season, you get to find more of your of the tune. You get to get in a groove and you never come out of it. Meaning, you get to find out what role you're made for. Obviously, the starting lineup, we talk about that, but going beyond that and deeper into conversation, you get to figure out, okay, are you a big threat behind the 3-point line? Are you going to make all your foul shots every single game? Are you spot on foul shots? Because as we know, foul shots are very important according to some of these viewers on this channel. And I definitely agree with them 100%. Or are you one to be a threat driving down in the paint? And I think that's something where you get to find your identity later on. And I'm talking about later, maybe in December, January, February, as it gets very cold outside and you're wearing your hats and your coats and your scarves. And all right, you get the point, Ryan. But with that said, where do you see her filling in gaps? Because, we could see her, and I'm not saying she won't. I think that as long as she stays healthy, you will see her in every single ball game. That's why he brought her in, to contribute to this team. With that said, where again, we didn't see much playing time. We didn't get to see her a lot at her old school. But again, as far as filling out your identity, your resume, getting ready for possibly, I assume she's getting ready for the WNBA. Where do you see her contributing the most? Is she going to be when you see them getting ready for March Madness, which I expected nonetheless. Every year we expect March Madness tournament at UConn. But do you see her being a big threat, shooting threes, or, do you see her being just where do you see her filling in that gap, and where does she contribute the most? Where does she threaten teams the most?
Well, I mean, I think it can be all of the above. I mean, why not? I mean, I
Oh,
think
and
she's
all
a great
around, I
player.
like that answer.
Yeah, because I mean, when
Uh-huh.
she was at Fairfield in her MAC conference, all 4
Uh-huh.
years, she's a fifth-year senior this year. All 4 years when she was at Fairfield, she dominated the conference. Like I said, Player
Okay.
of the Year last year, so
Yeah.
she did great. I forget how many points and assists all she averaged and rebounds, but she did a lot for that Fairfield team. She was always
Yeah.
in the starting lineup for especially for her fourth year last season at Fairfield. But I think she can just do about everything for this UConn team. And I already compared her to Avina Westbrook, but just like Avina Westbrook, I think last year she did about everything for this team. Came in and shot some big threes during the tournament last season. She was a great rebounder as well. She fit the UConn system very well. She knew how to pass. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to be the same thing that Lou does. I think she's fitting in great here at UConn. This is what I've been hearing all off season from
That's
these
what we've
summer
been hearing.
workouts
Yeah.
and what Gino is saying. So I think Lou can come in here to UConn, whether or not she's put in the starting lineup day one or not. That's yet to be seen. Like I said, there's so many different possibilities that
Yeah.
the starting roster for this UConn or the starting lineup. But I don't think it really matters whether Lou is in the starting lineup or not day one. I think she probably eventually will be. I think definitely expect her to at least get a couple of starts at UConn this season. But yeah, I mean, I just think she can make so many impactful plays, shooting the three, getting rebounds, passing it out to Paige or AZ or Caroline. And I think she's a tremendously talented defensive player as well.
Yeah. Well, so now you hear it, Lou. Do not let us down. Do not let Ryan run her down. Right. No, but really, so when we discussed it already, when she was with the Fairfield Stags, Ryan, I think the number that caught Gino's eye, I get it. It's not all about points. Michaela Daniels told us that defense, you could have a great defensive night and it may not show under the scoreboard. But with that said,
Right.
I think the two numbers, again, she could work on a field goal percentage. To me, she had around a 45 field goal percentage. But with that said, 4.6 rebounds a game. Hey, that's pretty darn good when you pair her with some of these top players already in the country on this roster. So about 4 rebounds a game, 21, 22 season stats. But how about this? 19 and a half points per game. Okay. That's pretty darn good. And to me, the more playing time that you actually give this young lady, I think you're right. The sky's the limit, and the better she's going to get.
Yeah, and I think that field goal percentage is fairly good considering how many shots she actually took for Fairfield. Because, like I mentioned, she was most of her offense there at Fairfield. She took most of the shots, or a good majority of the shots each and every game for
All right, well,
Fairfield.
I'll buy that. So
Um,
she had the pressure on her, is what you're saying. I'll
yeah, so
buy that. I'll buy
I
it.
think considering the amount of
All right.
shots she took per game, I'd say that's a pretty fair field goal percentage. And that's around what UConn, we're used to seeing UConn shoot around that 50, 55 mark, maybe even 60 sometimes. So, but yeah, I mean, 19 points, that's pretty impressive. But and I think that the experience as well, we haven't talked about that yet. The experience that she brings to the team, getting to the tournament last year, she doesn't have a lot of experience, but
Yeah.
I just think playing for 4 years already, she already knows what to expect, the routine. It's going to be a little different at UConn, so I'm sure she still has a lot to learn with her teammates and the way that Gino runs things, but I think she's going to just fit in perfectly fine with the UConn Huskies. She already has a lot of experience in that starting lineup all 4 years at Fairfield. So I think she's a tremendous add to this team. And I think she's going to be one of the main reasons why UConn has such a great season this year.
The stats are all fair in Fairfield with the Stags. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, it's fair game, Ryan. It's fair game in Fairfield. And I wanted to tell you very quickly, because the last time we talked about Lou Lopez before the season actually tips off. Can you imagine now, not to take away anything from her old school, great school, right? With that said, can you imagine, especially Lou Lopez, her parents, which I haven't caught a lot of articles discussing actually her parents, but can you imagine her family just in general? Can you imagine it's almost like UConn, I get it, D1 college team, but it's almost like watching Lou Lopez. Can you imagine these students and the student athletes cheering her on, rooting for her back in Fairfield? Can you imagine the first time she steps on the floor with UConn? I get it. It's still college level, but in my opinion, it's almost like seeing Lou Lopez stepping onto a WNBA court for the first time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just I get what you're saying. It's a different type of atmosphere,
Mhm.
especially at these bigger schools. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody shows out,
Yeah.
and especially during the tournament when they had UConn had the home field advantage last
Oh
season, it
my.
definitely helped,
Yeah.
especially in that UCF game. Things got a little heated in that game, but the student athletes and everybody that showed out for that game at Stores, that was just an incredible atmosphere. I'm not sure how many atmospheres I've seen in terms of all March Madness games that compared to that one. That was pretty unmatched from all the UConn fans. So I think all the players will feed off of that for all of these home games that UConn has throughout the whole entire season. I know UConn has a really, really strong fan base. So I know all the fans will show out for all their home games. And I know the players always feed off of all the atmosphere that the fans bring.
How about a couple comments? We appreciate everyone coming through on that last episode. UConn Huskies forward Aubrey Griffin, Ryan, and then we will head out for the day and possibly, hopefully, be back in tomorrow morning, bright and early. Tom Kibbe, thanks again, Tom. I went back and checked out a number of games she played during Paige's first year. Great, I guess he was trying to say great speed and jumping ability, and improved defensively over the course of the season.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying about how it was so unfortunate that Aubrey Griffin got injured last season and wasn't able to play, because you could really tell that she was really improving from her freshman year. As soon as she came in, she played really, really great basketball, and then her sophomore year, she improved so much. And I think everybody was expecting her to really have a breakout season last year, but it just wasn't meant to be. She just had dealt with three different injuries. So it was just so unfortunate for us not to see her play and how much she had actually improved during the off season. But hopefully she'll get more opportunities here at UConn. Like we said, I'm not really sure how much she'll actually play this season. But hopefully she'll get an opportunity to come in off the bench a couple of games, and hopefully next season for her senior year, she'll be able to come in, have more of an impact maybe. So hopefully she'll get more opportunities, but I'm not exactly sure when those will come.
From what I saw of Aubrey, if she could have played against South Carolina, the game would be different. She is kind of player who fills out holes in the game. Chemistry of this team is great. With the year that they had all the injuries, that chemistry helped them to the finale game.
Yeah, it was really great to see at the end of last year how everybody came together. And I think for Aubrey, if she could have gotten those extra minutes and extra experience, it would have helped her out for this year. But it just wasn't meant to be. But I think that how the whole team came together, it really gave us a lot of the fans and everybody around UConn a lot of hope for this season. So if they can start out like that this year, I think we're in for a special treat and a really good journey and ride throughout this whole entire season. So if the team chemistry stays like that through the off season and continues into this new year, I think we're in for a pretty fun ride.
How about Sharon? Thanks for coming through, Miss Sharon. Gino will use Aubrey the way he uses Nika, spark off the bench with a very important role. She is a great athlete.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I'm curious to see how much she actually improved during the off season and how much work that she put in. But like I said, it's really hard to tell until we see everybody. You know, it's really hard to tell how much everybody did improve, coming off all the things that everybody had to deal with on this team from last year. So it'll be really interesting to see. I can't wait until that first game, to see what the lineup is and how much minutes everybody gets and how Gino just plays everybody. It's going to be really interesting to see the whole team out there in action the first game.
Last one to cap the day off. Aubrey, Jean Morris. Thanks for coming through, Jean. Aubrey was a first-class athlete. I believe that she has some track and field in high school. Okay. It will be very hard to get back to that athletic condition again. Her first year at UConn, she could compete, I guess he was trying to say, with much taller players under the rim rebounding due to the vertical leaping ability. Yeah, well, see, so I mean, you're right. I mean, I think they're going down your direction, Ryan. Your route, again, not trying to be negative here, but it's very hard to recover. So again, even if she stays healthy, that's big in and of itself. Great
Yeah.
job, great job, Aubrey. You did it. If you stay healthy for the rest of or for the new season, the whole season, great. That's great. But at the same time, will she be as great as she once was, or as we once thought she could be?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's just really hard to tell, and hopefully she gets some opportunities for this season. But she's definitely a really talented athlete. Like I mentioned, for Amari and Aubrey Griffin, they're both really, really tall girls and can really, I think, have a field day inside the paint. But it's going to be, only time will tell to see how many minutes that Gino gives them. But they're both really, really talented athletes and have vertical. They can jump really high, get those rebounds, and really work on their post game. They can really be special athletes, but only time will tell. Like I said, we'll only know it. We won't know until that first game and see how many minutes everybody gets.
All right. With that said, on this Monday on Listen Up, Ryan, again, the spotlight goes on Lou Lopez. We appreciate her for coming to UConn. We can't wait to see her on the floor. We all know that you can't wait. And we hope the spotlight goes on Lou Lopez a lot more this season, starting in November. It's Phil and Rye on Listen Up.